Welcome to the Arsenal Show. We are live. Declan Rice has chosen Arsenal. Pepe is still here. And it's a big summer for Arsenal. We're joined by Melvin Marks. How you doing, Melvin?
Yeah, fine. Thanks for inviting me on. Really happy for that. Really enjoy. Looking forward to this.
Good. And of course, we've got Steve K. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, how you doing, mate? How you doing, Melvin? Good to have you here tonight. It's getting hot, isn't it? Getting hot outside and getting hot regarding the transfers.
Very good. Nice tee up there, Steve. Love it.
Good link.
Like an underarm throw in the air and just batted it out the park there with that line.
Yeah, I ain't even got that written down either. That just come. Nah.
There you go. This is what you get. You get freestyle on here, people. Get used to it. Get used to it. We've got in the comment section so far. Yes, it's Simon. How you doing? Simon is saying Melvin. Big shout out to Melvin. All right. So the latest news that came yesterday from Jacob Steinberg, or the other day, was that Arsenal were close to agreeing a fee for West Ham. Well, for Declan Rice with West Ham, it's going to be over £100 million with add-ons included, but can't really complain about that. There's a little bit more news on that as well. And first and foremost, Steve, the news going around with the fee, the fact that Arsenal are moving very early in the market, good news, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic news. I mean, we heard. It all started off in January, didn't it? I mean, we knew the interest in January. Arsenal contacted West Ham just early in the window. Out of respect, obviously West Ham wanted Declan Rice to concentrate on the rest of the season, because that time they was in a lot of trouble and still in quite a few competitions. So agreement was made just to leave it alone until to the end of the season. Didn't go quite that way. A few weeks from the end of the season, Arsenal got in contact with West Ham again. Negotiations started taking place with his father, who is his agent, and things started moving along there. There was a lot of rumours for teams like that Chelsea were interested and Liverpool were interested, but Liverpool just, they couldn't afford Bellingham, so that was never probably in question. Chelsea was a big interest. I mean, obviously Declan Rice was a Chelsea supporter, winding things on right up to recent days there. I mean, we've heard the rumours that it's going to be 100 million from Jacob Steinberg of the Garden. I'm not going to say that is what it's going to be. I haven't been told 100% that is the fee. So I've heard from other places that it's maybe a little bit less than that, sort of rising to 100 million, maybe 80 million plus then add-ons. But we'll see. We've heard that there's 92 plus add-ons. We've heard 100 million. We'll see. All I do know, there's going to be a large fee paid up front. And Bayern Munich, obviously, they was probably the most Arsenal's main competition for Declan Rice, but that's been shot out the water today with the fact that they've actually pulled out the deal at all and not even made a bid for the player, which just leaves Arsenal with a free run. So exciting times for Arsenal fans.
Yeah, no, definitely. And news on that Bayern Munich that they pulled out is due to the fact that the fees raising so high and Arsenal's aggression in the transfer market, to be fair, it's kind of scared everyone else off and the momentum that Arsenal picked up with this deal. Melvin, we've seen the news that Granit Xhaka is potentially on his way out, Leverkusen being the team. Declan Rice, does he seem like the right person to slot in there for you?
Oh, yeah. Even if we weren't getting rid of Xhaka, he has to be a starter. He's brilliant. It's what we need, a bit of strength in midfield. We've had very good footballers in midfield over the years, but no one like strong, he seems to be made of stone, doesn't he? But I feel like, do you remember Dallas, that programme years ago, I don't know if you're old enough. I know Steve is.
Sunset Beach, Dallas, we all know them all.
Yeah. Where's that eject button? We were talking about an eject button.
Well, I think I'm like, I don't know if you remember, Steve, Bobby Ewing, who he went missing.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden he come back Yeah, he's come back like the
no idea
Martian.
no idea what you're talking about.
Totally. Yeah, all right. But I feel the same because I feel like I went away and Arsenal couldn't afford to pay the wages of Gunnosaurus. And all of a sudden, we're paying £100 million for a player. What's that?
Well, that's the reason why we can pay £100 million a player because we got rid of Gunnosaurus, Mel.
Ah, gotcha.
You've got to balance the book sometimes, mate.
It was overpaid. No, to get back to your point, yes, as a one-for-one swap, I know it's costing money, but for a positional, Rice is amazing swap with Xhaka. I know it's going to cost a lot of money, but long-term, over 5-10 years, it won't really matter, will it? After 2 or 3 years, if a big signing is good, you forget about the money because it just pays for itself. And as I say, it's just and also he's somebody that can sit in front of the back four and protect us more than we've had before. I mean, you know, in all fairness, Partey's been at times has been brilliant, but he hasn't really been that what I call protective midfielder. He's been very good at stopping a few attacks, but then continuity moving it forward brilliantly. But he hasn't been there when we've been, I think, under the cosh and like saving the ball from coming to our defence. But if we can get him, it's not a done deal. I don't know, unless you know more than me. It's not a done deal. But if it does happen, I'll be more than fantastic, unbelievable, showing that we're keeping our momentum. Because if we don't continue now our momentum in buying better players than we got, we go back 4 or 5 places. So we can't afford that. And to get back to where we are now will take another 5 years.
No, 100%, I agree. It's a very important transfer window, this window. We had the past 2 or 3, we've had 3 very good ones, including January as well. We've got to keep that momentum going, as you're saying. Johnny says, if Arsenal was serious about competing next season with Manchester City and going one better, and I think Rice and Caicedo, I think that they can take us to the next stage of this process. Yes, Steve, do you see that it's a case of that Arsenal have to buy Rice and Caicedo, or is it a case of you see Rice coming in? That's the bar now. It doesn't have to be Caicedo, but it needs to be a player of quality.
Yeah, I mean the interest is still there for Caicedo. I can tell you that's not gone away. You know, they're still keeping close tabs, and they're still talking with the agent who's I think is in Dubai at the moment. So that's probably why things have got a little bit quiet, and of course with the Declan Rice thing that's going on. But like similar to what Melvin says, I personally think we do need to get someone like Moises Caicedo. For me, Thomas Partey has been amazing this season. He's been fantastic this season, but I think he's 30 now, and I think again, without sort of being guilty of repeating what Melvin said, that if we're going to compete with teams like Manchester City now, which we're definitely showing that we are by going out there and buying what is an England international, a leader, and it's looking like money's no object, and whacking down is close to 100 million. So that's a good sign for Arsenal going forward. It shows that they want to go out there and they want to be aggressive and they want to, try and win the title next season. But they do need someone like Caicedo for me. He's 21. He's versatile. We need versatile players. Just going back to Partey, I feel that this season, getting into the mind of Mikel Arteta, you have to look at, there's players there who we've been praising all season. But if we're going to go and compete with Manchester City next year and compete with the top teams in Europe, I still think there's players there that we need to sort of maybe be just squad players. And that could be someone like Thomas Partey, and that could be someone like Ben White. I've actually said this. I've said this to people, and I've been attacked. Oh, you can't. Ben White's our right back. Thomas Partey's our midfield player. But personally, I feel we need different. I feel we need stronger. I feel we need better. And Moises Caicedo, for me, is better than Thomas Partey, especially with the legs getting around the pitch, his versatility. So for me, it's a must. Or like you said, definitely someone of his ilk.
Right. Welcome, Jerome. Just on Declan Rice. Fees have been banded around the 90 million to 100 million pound mark, with going over 100 million in add-ons. It's scared off the likes of Bayern Munich, Chelsea, and Man United. is Declan Rice worth the 90 to 100 million that's been spoken about?
We'll find out this time next year, I think. Look, to West Ham, he's as good as priceless, really, isn't he? To West Ham, it's a massive fee, but these are the times that we're living in. He's a regular starter for England. He's a skipper of West Ham. He's, probably the best English central midfielder there is, and that's the going rate. Unfortunately, it's probably too much because that puts him up with like the top few players in the world in terms of transfer fees. But that's just the way it is. And if he comes in and he helps us to compete and win the league, then it's going to look money well spent, isn't it? So time will tell on the fee. But yeah, it's a bit bulky, isn't it?
Do you think that Declan Rice will feel any pressure of that fee? Because we saw Jack Grealish in his first season at Manchester City, that he struggled in his first season. That he even admitting after the Champions League final that he had to take a look at himself and up his game, make sure that he was worthy of that 100 million, which we've all spoken about previously, and I know many pundits have spoken about when players talk about the fee. It doesn't matter. Well, we've seen firsthand from Jack Grealish's mouth that he says that he thought about the fee in terms of they bought me for 100 million. I need to pay that back. Do you think that would weigh on Declan Rice shows, or do you think he just brushed it off?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be on his mind at all. I think he's had the pressure playing for West Ham, like not carrying the team on his shoulders, but as good as. And I think when you hear him speak, you can hear his sort of mentality. And I think one of the things that attracted Arteta to Rice is the sort of leadership quality. And so I can't see the big fee playing a part at all in the way he thinks. So I don't think it'll be a factor at all.
All right. News has come out that Mikel Arteta apparently, Declan Rice's family was apparently blown away by Mikel Arteta. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta reportedly made a long list of incredible promises to Declan Rice as Arsenal lead the race for the West Ham captain. England international and his family supposedly hugely impressed by Arsenal, with Mikel Arteta making some personal vows to Rice about his future roles with the club. This is not the first time we've heard that Mikel Arteta has made a big impact with regards to the signings, phone calls to players and giving them a call and telling them about what it's like to be an Arsenal player. It's starting to have quite an impact in the transfer market of Mikel Arteta, eh, Steve?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not only an excellent coach, he's definitely a fantastic man manager as well. Some managers over the years are just good man managers, or they're a good coach. He seems to have a bit of everything. He seems to say things to players, and it's what they want to hear. I mean, us as fans can sort of vouch for that as well, isn't it? I mean, we love it when he speaks, things that he says, we listen. So yeah, I mean, he's got plaudits from the highest, grade of player to the highest grade of manager. When you look at Man City and the players there, what they've said about him, they laud him. People like Jesus and Zinchenko came to Arsenal. A lot to do with Mikel Arteta because they know the way he plays. He knows how they treat them. Hopefully, we'll get a couple more as well. In this summer window, and he can do the same. Bring them here as well. But yeah, I mean, he seems to be able to sort of like talk to anyone, doesn't he, Mikel Arteta? Whether you're an East End boy like Declan Rice, or whether you're from Norway like Martin Odegaard, or you can argue speak Aaron Ramsdale, yeah, and like William Saliba, who look, let's have it right. We had difficult times with him, didn't he, to try and convince him to go out on loan, and there was a few problems in the beginning, but he's talked him round, he's sold him the process, and he's done the same with Declan Rice. I don't know what he's told Declan Rice. Maybe he's getting a pie and mash shop in the Emirates or something. Maybe that's one of the things that they're going to do there, which would be handy. I wouldn't mind that. yeah, and probably his positioning in the team, because with Declan Rice has always said that he wants to play as a number 8 and more attacking and more going forward, and I think that's where he's going to play for Arsenal. I dare say he can rotate with whether it's a party or whether it's Casado, but I think Declan Rice has really said that, going forward in his future, he wants to play in a number 8 position and play further forward. So I dare say he's mentioned that to him as well.
Yeah, definitely. Melvin, you've seen a lot of managers over the years at Arsenal and their impact with regards to that special touch we saw with Arsene Wenger reaching out to players. We now see it with Mikel Arteta. How important is it for players to have that sort of, so they feel like they're wanted from the manager?
Oh yeah, that works, but it only works, Kieran, if all the other things fit into place. The club's doing well, you've got the money, and you hit the player at the right time. I mean, it gives you an advantage when you're in the final stages against another club. But from the starting point of view, I don't think it makes any difference at all. What I saw you put up there before, did it say they're not promise him the captaincy in the future? Is it something about captaincy?
It seems that recognition Rice is looking forward to becoming an Arsenal club signing. Arteta has made it clear that the 24-year-old is a future captain and will have the team built around him. Well, as well as the starting on the pitch, Rice would also be rewarded handsomely off it, with Arsenal ready to make him one of the highest earners at the club.
Well, if he's promising the captaincy, that worries me, because our captain's not 29; he's younger than Rice. So how's that going to work out?
Yeah,
and I don't see it. Sorry, I think this is whatever that was. Well, I don't know where that's quoted from. I don't think they would know what actual Arteta said to him or promised him. They might.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think they would know.
I don't believe he even mentioned that. It sounds nice, and and all that, and have an extra a room built on his house and all that for him in all these different colours. But no, you can't promise him no captaincy.
And it don't seem right for what we're seeing with Mikel Arteta to even say starting position, like a starting place. Like, from what we've seen, he's always been very much like, you earn your place. Like, of course I'm bringing you in, but you've got to earn your place, you earn your spot, and that's kind of kept that competition there. So yeah.
And also, he'd sell the club, and he's brilliant at that, Arteta, selling the club to the player and everything. But it's always said, Arteta, the player's got to want to play for the Arsenal.
100%. 100%.
So it's not. I wouldn't have thought the conversation, if they had that conversation, would be one way. It'd be a two-way stretch.
No, definitely. And we saw recently as well that Declan Rice has apparently said to David Sullivan that Arsenal is the club that he would like to join. So it doesn't seem like there's been much interest elsewhere. We saw that Thomas Tuchel had reached out to Declan Rice as well, but nothing was ever really going that way. So yeah, Arsenal seem to be a sort of a decent proposition for a player of Declan Rice's level. How far have they come, Jerome? Did you ever think that Arsenal would be signing Declan Rice a few years ago?
I can't remember when I thought it. It was maybe it was after the Euros, and I was thinking, whoever signs this player, he's going to win the league in England. That's like how good I thought Declan Rice was, and I never thought that he'd come to us, because at the time there was maybe a few better options for him. Like the jump has just been massive, and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that we're even having this conversation, considering where we've been the last couple of years.
Just on our season last season, Steve, do you think that we'd be as far ahead as we are right now with regards to this Declan Rice transfer if we had just got top 4 last season and weren't in a title race and got second?
Do you think there'd be a different? No, I don't think so. I think there's always been a plan. I mean, the finishing second was quite a shock to everyone. I mean, it probably sort of like privately was a shock to Mikel Arteta as well. Maybe he wouldn't have thought that, we'd get second. With the teams, we never would have envisaged to Chelsea to fail like they did. We never would have envisaged to Liverpool to fall apart like they did, and Manchester United as well. Our aim really was to get Champions League, and they've always gone on about the 5-year plan of Arsenal, and Edo's always mentioned that. And so I don't think we would have been in any different situation. I think they've had a plan all along.
I'm not talking about Arsenal's plan. I'm talking about Declan Rice.
Oh, do you think Declan Rice would have?
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah, I mean, possibly. But I think Arsenal, all Arsenal. If Arsenal was in the Champions League, you never know. I mean, you don't know. But if we would have made Champions League, we would have still had that. That big pull. We still would have been the team in London. He wants to stay in London. So the only other option possibly he could have gone to was Chelsea. Bayern was a non-starter in the end, it's turned out. So in the end, it would have been Chelsea. He knew, he said last season that he wanted to leave West Ham. So for me, the only other option was Arsenal. So as far as Declan Rice goes, I don't think there would have been anything different in his mind, and I think Arsenal would have been one of the top teams that he would have wanted to play for. Probably the only team who's turned out that can, is willing to put the money down. A lot of people are saying that, he's too much money, but this is a statement. Arsenal should be paying 100 million. I mean, isn't it great it's great that we're paying 100 million? So
yeah, for the right player though, because the talk with Mudryk, and then the talk of Casado and the prices going up and up and up. Those two transfers for me were getting too silly.
Yeah.
Like a player who's played 30 games for Dynamo Kiev or whatever, and another player that's had one season in the Premier League after half a season in Belgium. It was just getting silly money. You've now seen that Casado's had an excellent season in the Prem. So he's a Prem player, but when we're talking about 80, 90 million, it just gets a bit too much.
Yeah. I think as well though, Kieran, I think we spoke about it before. This particular time that we're in, there's a lot of clubs that are looking for top class midfield players. Liverpool's looking for them. Man United's looking for them. Even Man City are looking for them. Arsenal are looking for them. Right? And there seems to be a sort of a plethora of midfield. Not many. I'm saying a plethora. I'm sort of contradicting myself there. But there seems to be, especially Premier League players, not many about. So if you want one of these young stars that's going to be at your club for the next 4 or 5 years, you've got to pay this amount of money. So for these, because otherwise, I think if Casado was 50 million, if they was 60 million, then maybe he would go somewhere else. Maybe there'd be a lot of more competition.
Yeah, maybe. Let's go to the comments here. I think Jack Wilshere's connection is contributing factor to us possibly getting Rice as well. We've got a bit of poetry from look. It's we don't need to let the rice simmer. We shouldn't let this transfer boil over by denying it. Add in some salt and pepper and Casado, and you've got a great side dish for our team. Johnny adds his 2 pence worth and says, "A dish for a party." A dish for a party. Anyone think the panel looks like a Blue tribute act? I'll take that. Who's Melvin then? Who's Melvin in blue then? Which one's Anthony Costa? There we go. There's the questions for you. Singing wise, the profile to go for, in my opinion, is established Prem or international players. It's what City should do, and then near to a guaranteed way there is Rasido, baby. Jesus, that's like my hairline is Rasido, baby. All right, there is one which I'm sure people are going to get a bit angry about. Stan Collymore has urged Declan Rice to snub Arsenal and join Manchester United because the latter are a bigger football club. Melvin, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, there we go. I mean, a great judge. He's, you've got to follow him. I mean, why is he coming out with this? You want to get some people to talk about him again, Collymore? I mean, come on. No, I mean, they're not listening. Oh, I'll tell you what they do. Man United are coming and bid for him now. Now that Collymore said that. All bets will be off now, won't they? They go, you know what? We're not sure about him. We're not sure. We never watched Rice play. We don't know if we need him or not. But now Collymore said we need him. We better go in.
Yeah. No. To be fair, he might win the Carabao Cup. He might win the Carabao Cup if he went there. So be fair.
I think going back to your point, Steve, you said it's about coming second. Did it make any difference coming second and fourth? I think what made a difference, in my opinion, I could be totally wrong, is that the style of football we play has been unreal. And I think that he looked at that and gone, you know what? I could fancy a bit of that. Number two, when he came to the Emirates, the atmosphere there has been off the radar. And he's thinking to himself, wow, I fancy a bit of this as well. So those two factors, the football we play, and we're the only team this season that could get close to Man City. We could actually smell their breath. No one else could.
Well, clearly it was stinking because we backed off a bit.
Yeah, I know. I know. But that I reckon is as much as coming from fourth to coming second. Second made a big difference, but I think the other factors are very big as well.
Yeah, true. What's your thoughts on that one, Jerome? Do you think that coming second played any part in turning Rice's head, and even Chelsea dropping so far off? Because if we're realistic, it's Chelsea, Man United, and Arsenal the three teams, if anything, not really buying.
I don't know. It probably doesn't make a difference, but like Collymore said about United being bigger than Arsenal, but when Arsenal comes second, not that Rice would need to justify himself to anyone, like justify any decisions he makes, but you're gonna turn around and say, look, I'm joining the team that finished second to Man City. So irrelevant of whether you think United are a bigger club, this is the team that sort of challenged. So it can sort of help justify his decisions. I think there's such an obvious slot, 2 slots possibly for him in our midfield. Whereas with some of the other teams, maybe not so as much. Obviously, if he wants to stay in London, and one of the reasons he's leaving West Ham, he wants to play in the Champions League, and so us being in the Champions League, Chelsea not, I think that might have made a big difference as well, perhaps, because if he's leaving West Ham, which is a club he obviously loves, like you can see he loves that club, it's only going to be because I think for professional reasons and joining a club that's going to be in the Champions League, and I think he's obviously, although they're not together at the moment, he obviously gets on very well with Arteta as well. Like you can just tell sometimes, and but yeah, second or fourth, maybe slightly, but not massive.
Yeah, and as for Stan Collymore's comments, he thought he'd use Arsenal when he had a eureka moment. Stan,
They may be big, but they're not better, are they?
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, they're not.
Turn
they're
it
not
in.
better.
Like he's just doing a Richard Keys and using Arsenal to get in the line.
Yeah. Why would you want to go Manchester United anyway? Why? The club still, they don't know where they're going, what they're doing. They haven't bought any players. They don't seem to be able to buy anybody at the moment because they don't know who's taking over. Everything's sort of, in uproar there. Why would he want to go? Why would he want to go there at this moment in time? Next week might be different. They might be Harry Kane. They might be takes over. They all of a sudden they might start bringing players. But at the end of the season, I mean, you'd have to be crazy to go Manchester United over Arsenal.
And there isn't a definite position for him at United. I mean, their midfield is quite good. They've got 2 decent midfielders, haven't they? United. It's not as if they're short of midfielders there.
But if Rice, don't get me wrong. If Rice goes United, it would have to be him and Casemiro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arsenal star William Saliba has reached an agreement with Arsenal over a new contract, which looks set to stay at Emirates until at least the summer of 2027. Jerome, massive news that dropped the other day. William Saliba agrees to deal. Nothing signed, nothing penned yet. But for all those people that were worried, the worry is alleviated, surely.
Yeah, I think we're all worried, all massively worried, really, because if he wasn't to sign, you've probably got to sell him, and then how on earth do you go about replacing him? Like, very, very difficult job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough for us because, we don't really know what's going on, what conversations they've had. But it's nice that it's done like relatively early, isn't it? Like it's only sort of beginning, middle of June, and it's already done. Like that's out of the way now. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Just got to hope that this injury that he's had sort of clears up as soon as possible. But, no, amazing news. Like our defence now really is pretty sorted, to be honest. I think off the back of that.
I agree. I think we need a right back, and obviously Kieran Tierney is going to be going, so a left back is going to be needed. But yeah, big news. Steve, William Saliba, was you worried at any point that he might not stay?
No, never worried one little bit. The total confidence that he was going to sign. So yeah, no, never crossed my mind that he was ever going to leave and not sign that contract. We've heard like recently how he spoke glowingly, about Arteta and the club and the fans, and how he loves it and how he wants to be there for so and so long. People, try to get people excited when someone don't sign a contract, but there was never any links with him going anywhere. You always get the Real Madrid link, and when you hear Real Madrid linked to one of our players, it's absolute nonsense anyway. I was hearing it was more about the agent, that he wanted his fees, up a little bit, which is pretty much standard these days when you're signing a new deal. This was, from what I was hearing, was never about William Saliba. But it's great. It's great from Arsenal, and again, we were talking about why selling the club to Declan Rice. I mean, it must be a really good statement when someone like Declan Rice sees Mikel Arteta and Arsenal getting these contracts done, bish, bash, bosh, bosh, done, and then after that, because I'm sure Declan Rice has asked, what's happening with Saliba, what's happening with Martinelli, what's happening with Saka, what's happening with all these guys, and Arsenal know that. On Arsenal side, they needed to, get these done first, get their business done first, and they have. They've got that out of the way, and now we can go on building the team. But Saliba, for me, best centre half in the Premier League. I can't think of anyone better. And I think he's going to go on to be something incredibly special. So, yeah, great bit of business.
Melvin, how impressed with you with William Saliba's first season in the Premier League?
I've never seen a centre-half defender be that good from the off. Even when we sign big names, he's the most impressive footballer, defender I've ever seen wear an Arsenal shirt to start with. I mean that. He's like the Rolls Royce. He purred. He was unbelievable. He was not just a defender. He was so much more. He was making Partey look world class because he gave him so much room. He gave him quick balls to turn and make his movement. And when you're talking about his back, Arsenal have now got a 4-year deal on this guy. Was it £200,000 a week? That's a big investment. I'm sure they've looked at his back. I'm sure they haven't gone, you know what, we'll take a chance, shut our eyes and hope it's all right. I'm sure that is the case. This guy is just so good. And everyone said that he's one of the only footballers I've seen, Kieran. When he signed with the Arsenal, I saw him on YouTube and I thought, he looks unbelievable. And normally, when they look unbelievable on YouTube, they're absolute rubbish when they start playing. This guy looked better in the flesh than I saw him on YouTube. When he started playing the pre-season, I thought, when he was away for a cup, I thought, wow, this guy is the real deal. His touch, he doesn't even seem, I know he runs, but he doesn't seem to run. He just lopes. And also, his reading of the game is very good. And one thing what you touched on, Steve, he will get better because defenders do get better with age. There's certain mistakes they make. Even Tony Adams, when he first came in the side, he was good, but he made mistakes. And all of a sudden, a few years later, that got out of his game. That was it. People forgot about that. He wasn't, and I think the same will happen with Saliba. He's got this ability of having so much time on the ball That shows you the class of the footballer. And he. I mean, against Spurs, one of the things he does, he put it through some forward's legs.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Cruyff turn in the box.
Yeah. I mean, what is he? I mean, it was just like, wow. Listen, perhaps it's too young for me to say it, but he's on the edge of becoming world class. And for a young guy, that is saying something for me. I can't say anything high about him.
Jerome, you was impressed with his first season. Happy that he's got this deal done. Agreed the deal.
Yeah, yes. Like I said before, yes, it's massive. And I think if there was ever any doubt about what he was going to do, I reckon he probably mentally signed that contract about 10 seconds after he scored that own goal at the Emirates earlier on in the season, when the fans just sort of backed him straight away after that own goal. Because I wasn't there. I know, Dad, you were there, and I could see it from the TV. You never ever see that. Never.
No.
Your player scores an own goal, and you sort of rally behind him like that. It doesn't happen. So there's been a few contributing factors, I think, that have gone towards him signing this deal, and I think
he feels part of it.
Yeah, and I think the fans deserve credit because I think they've played a part in it.
Yeah, I agree. Because he's a young player. He as you've been to the Emirates this season, I think we all have. The atmosphere is absolutely, it's rocking down there. And if you're playing in there, and like you said, you score an own goal, and your fans are cheering you to big you up, and then you score a weldy the following week, and they're going crazy. You're going. It just felt like he was just not. He was just enjoying his foot, not just enjoying his football, he was enjoying everything about it. Like even his celebrations, the crazy one with his tongue out, like all of that. You don't do that if you don't feel like this is something which is good. And you can just tell on his face that he's happy to be there. And it's massive news. So it can shut down all the people that were trying to say that he wasn't signing the contract because he held a grudge against Mikel Arteta for loaning him out for those 3 seasons. All those people that want to make up stories, your stories are done now. All right. As he's saying here, lads, let's be honest, Saliba's injury was the moment it fell apart. Made Partey, White and Gabriel, who operate close to him, look even stronger. He gets in any team in the world. In the morning. Look, he's been outstanding this season, but it's about to be classed as world class. It's about consistency, and he'll have to do that over 3 or 4 seasons. He'll get better and better. He does need to add to his game. I've seen Frauters in his game, in games against Ivan Toney, in games against Ollie Watkins. So it shows that those big burly strikers he causes a little bit of trouble. It's just about adapting his game. In those ones, being a bit smarter maybe. But we've seen classy defenders deal with those bullies before, so I'm sure he will learn from them. Arsenal building a seriously strong squad. Steve, you mentioned Moses Caicedo. Arsenal still interested. You've got any news on that?
The last conversation I had was yesterday on Moises Caicedo with someone. We all know, just quickly, in January, everything was agreed with Moises Caicedo. It was done, dusted. As far on the players' side, it was just his employees that said, no, he's not going away. Come back in the summer. You're not going anywhere. So, we have to remember that as far as Arsenal and Moises Caicedo's camp was concerned, everything was done and agreed in January. And there's obviously still that interest there now for him. We know that the 70 million was offered in January. We know that was turned down. We now know that what we're hearing is that Brighton will accept 80 million. So Arsenal are now 10 million out. Chelsea are hot, really, really hot on Moises Caicedo. They want him as well. But if Arsenal really, they've just got to convince him to come to Arsenal. The only way I can see is if Moises Caicedo goes to Chelsea, is if it's for the wages and for the money. He's on 182 grand a week at the moment with Brighton.
Is he?
Yeah. He signed a new contract. Well, obviously he's only getting it on for a year. That's why he signed a new contract. Everybody was saying, well, how can Moises Caicedo ain't leaving? He signed a new contract. He signed a new contract because he wanted more money, and that was part of the reason why he stayed there. Obviously, so he can knuckle down. It was an incentive. So yeah, it was 182. So that's a lot of money. So we were assuming that Chelsea won't have a problem paying that. Arsenal might. So that's a little worry that we got. But we do have to keep going back to January where everything was agreed and we showed our hand then. So we're just 10 million out. So when you look at it, it's for me, it's going to come down to wages. It's going to come down to Moises Caicedo. The question to Moises Caicedo is, do you want to not play in Europe next season? Do you want to play on a team who's now in transition and we're not sure what they're going to do? If you're not sure what they're going to be doing next following season, where Arsenal were just there, they're ready to go, ready to fly, ready to City. So for me, it's a money matter. So let's just hope he has ambition, Caicedo, rather than a bit of a money grabber.
All right. You watched much of Moises Caicedo this season. You think it'd be a good signing for Arsenal?
You asked me, sorry, me. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of him. What I've seen, I've liked. He's got. I think I saw him against the whole match against Man United in the semi-final. He looked terrific. He looked absolutely terrific. But I haven't seen that much of him. I think he was the player who the season before last murdered us at the Emirates when Brighton beat us. And they beat us most seasons. But I mean, Steve, we may be £10 million out from 70 to 80, but that doesn't come into the equation if Chelsea are interested.
Yeah,
they are. As exactly.
We're not 10 million out, are we?
It's whatever Chelsea want to pay.
That's what I said. It could come down to the wages. It could come down to that.
Forget. I mean, yeah, the wages of it might come on that. But if Chelsea say we want him, then it ain't another 10 million. They could pay another 30, 40 million. I mean, it just doesn't matter to them.
I don't know. Yeah.
We've got to beat them on other grounds, as you say, apart from money. And hopefully the guy wants to be in a team that's going forward, not looking over their shoulder like Chelsea are at the moment. Chelsea got problems.
They would have to sell first. Chelsea. They've got to sell a lot of players before they can start.
You say that, you're right. I read a report the other day. They've run out of shirts. They've got so many players.
They've had to extend their changing room. They've had to enlarge their changing room. That's crazy. There were players sitting on the floor at the end of last season. And like on a serious note with Chelsea, there is a lot of talk that Chelsea are going to be a team that's going to be coming straight back and blah blah. But like they've got a squad that they need to reduce, and there's players in that squad that don't know whether they're going to be playing next season. So the unrest is going to be ridiculous. Chelsea is very well known for player power and unrest in the dressing room, and one surefire way to accelerate that is by having too many players on the books.
Kieran, can I just add one thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
With Chelsea, I read something somewhere. I don't know if it's true, but with this fair play rule, I know it doesn't apply to the top teams, but if you you're only allowed to lose on the books a certain amount of money. Now, they've bought so many players, overpriced players, they cannot afford to sell them, even if they get, whatever money they get. They can't say we'll have a fire sale. They can take it from the bank because they've got the money, but they can't take it the fair play rules. So they're restricted of who they can sell.
True. Very, very true. Financial advisor over here. Bloody hell, Melv. Jerome, Moises Caicedo or just a solid, a decent player, a good player, a top player? Does it have to be Moises Caicedo?
Yeah, I've got my heart set on Caicedo. My best mate who's a West Ham fan, when they played Brighton earlier on in the season, both Rice and Caicedo played. He said Caicedo ran the game, and from what I've seen, I think he's different class. And I heard a podcast the other day where they had a Arsenal podcast where they had a Brighton fan on, and this Brighton fan said that every player that they've sort of sold so far, he can sort of understand it. He said, if Caicedo goes, this is the one which I will feel like devastated by.
Oh, really?
Because of how good he is, yeah. Look, from it's such a shame because from a football point of view, if you're comparing Arsenal and Chelsea, you can't make an argument for Chelsea. It's impossible.
Yeah.
They're such a mess. They've just got a brand new manager in. So they've got no sort of way of playing, no style. It's everything starting from scratch with all those players. They came, wherever they came in the league, like unless you're a Chelsea fan, you can't make an argument for him joining Chelsea. So, but unfortunately, as we know, it's not just a football decision, is it? It's a lot more than that. So I really hope he comes because I think as well, if he comes, like Rice, he can play in a couple of different positions, but not just he can do a job there. He'll be amazing there. Like he hasn't played a lot of right back, and he played against us at right back, and
Yeah, he looked very
He
good.
looked unreal, wasn't he? He was like he played all his life.
but I think
Yeah.
we're gonna need like quality players in that midfield area because it's so important. Like if you've got your one injury away from an El Neni playing again. So if you're going to compete properly in the Premier League or the Champions League, like that is going to make, although it's just one player, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah,
so
we need two, don't we, John? We definitely need
I'd rather spend 70 or 80 on Caicedo than a 35 million punt, which you don't know what's going to happen, and then it could cost you in the long run. So you know what you're getting with this Caicedo guy. Like I would go all out for him. I'd absolutely, break that bank for that Caicedo.
Yeah. He would save you money though, Jerome. If you got Caicedo, he would save you money because he's so versatile and you can play him in a number of positions. You know, it will free up other players. You know, Ben White, who's our right back, he could be, you know, a right back come midfield player. Ben White now could be the backup centre back that everybody keeps talking about buying for Slim. Arteta's not silly. If I see that, he must see it. That Ben, you know, if we get a right back, you know, say a Cancelo, or even if a Caicedo plays there from time to time, you've got your centre back there. You've got your 50-40 million pound centre back that we bought. And I'm not hearing anything really solid on buying a centre back. And I hope Arteta.
Yeah, I don't like the rumours of the centre back because it's like,
no, I don't.
We're talking how much we're going to spend on a centre back. You're talking 40, 50 million. Like, because what's the point in holding on to bring in, as Jerome says, a punt? Like anyone that's going to come in, it needs to come in and be competition. It needs to be a level. We don't need down squad players now. We need players that are going to challenge. Like Kidior's a squad player, and potentially, if Ben White is a centre back option, he's the squad player for that option. Or if there's a right back, if we bring in a right back, is he going to be challenging for? It needs to be. Are they of the level of challenging the player, taking their position? That's the level we need to be bringing in. Not he's a backup, he's a squad player. Because then we're going to fall off every time we need a player's injured or we need to rotate. So yeah, that's not the way forward for me. Edu Gaspar, Odegaard, Saka, Ramsdale. Who else? The Saliba deal. All these
Martinelli.
deals looking like they're getting over the line. Gabriel Martinelli. Now Declan Rice. Edu Gaspar surely now deserves to get some props. I know he needs to start selling players and getting some money back in, but what he has done with tying these players down and bringing in, or hopefully bringing in the likes of Declan Rice, what a start to the summer transfer window it's been already, Steve. Eh?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic. I mean, Arsenal man comes in, loves the clubs, and you know, some people have had a go at him in the past, but he's really, like you said, he's earning his flowers now. Yes, look, it helps, like Melvin said, that if you're playing good football and you got a chance of winning things going forward. But again, you know, very similar Arteta, who they both work absolutely fantastic together. This guy's come along and, you know, wrapped up some, you know, sensational deals. And to be honest with you, I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration, but this one man has really sort of set up the football club possibly for the next 5-6 years. And he deserves every plaudit that you could possibly give him. You mentioned the people who we've signed up on new contracts. You know, massively important. So more important. Than signings. Look, and I mean, I bet you he's also thinking of sell on. I'm sure he's thinking of sell on. You know, because you look at Saliba, Saka, and Martinelli, and when have we ever been in a situation where we can turn around and say we've got 3 or 4 players that if we need to sell on in 3-4 years, we can get 100 million for? I mean, that is the ilk.
Saka was valued at 160 million the other day. So we'd definitely be able to recruit.
I mean, and that sets us up.
Before we go on, please smash that like and subscribe, people. See people in watching the show. Make sure you press that like and make sure you press that subscribe if you are new to the show. Melvin, Edu gets a lot of pelters, but for what he's done so far, to start the transfer, signing up these players on longer term contracts and potentially being ahead of every other team so far to get the Rice deal over the line, definitely deserves a bit of credit there, doesn't he?
He does, but the players that he signed up, like the Salibas of this world and the players we've already got to re-sign, the goalkeeper, Ramsdale, all that, I think more credit should go to Arteta. Because if the team weren't playing well and there wasn't a future and a vision, these players wouldn't sign. They'd be looking elsewhere. So I think you can't just put it down to Edu doing well. Without Arteta, Edu's job would be 20 times harder. Arteta has set up the situation where any Arsenal player at the moment in his team with the spirit of the squad and what potentially we can do and have seen what they could do, would love to sign. You've got just for someone to have their head turned now with what's going on at this club, with the crowd, as you say, with the stadium and everything else that's going on. And I think it's very professional now. Everything else they're doing off the pitch, apart from on the pitch, Arsenal they seem to get it right, apart from bloody tickets. That's another story. But it looks so good. They're getting so much right. It's very difficult for me to see a player go, you know what? Nah, I'm 24 years old. I think I'll try my luck elsewhere. I don't see it unless he thinks he's the player that I'm getting X amount a week and I know I can treble it. Those type of players we should let go anyway. And I don't think we've got them. I think we've got a different type of player in our squad now.
Well, one player that could potentially be accused of that, maybe wanting to go for his own reasons, is Balogun, Jerome. Would you stop him? Would you try and sell him this dream, or would you say, look, if he head turns and he wants first team football week in, week out, then mate, good luck and be on your way?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think they'll sell. The thing is, he's had a taste of regular first team football every week. Yeah. Does he want to all of a sudden sit on the bench for 90% of the season? Probably not.
Yeah,
probably not. I mean, he's obviously going to be like America's main man as well at the World Cup in America. Like, he's going to want to be playing football. When I've seen bits of him this season, I know he scored a lot of penalties, and Lacazette scored tons of goals in that league last season. I haven't, when he's played for Arsenal, which has been limited. For us, you got to look to play like as an attacker. You've got to be top draw, and if you're not top draw, and you can get 25, 30 million, then I think it makes sense. I don't think we're in the position now to hold on to players if they can get us money, which we need to spend. I think those days are gone. Like, we need to be like decisive and make decisions, and not have him sitting on the bench and then all of a sudden 15 million pounds of his value gets wiped off because he hasn't been playing. So, yeah.
It's a fair point. Do a Rhian Brewster. I think Liverpool has had Rhian Brewster, who's one of the hottest prospects in world football when they won the World Cup, and I think he went on loan for half a season to Swansea, did well, came back. Sheffield United spent 26 million on him, and he ain't done nothing since. So it could be a case of that. Melvin, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think when you asked me the question about Edu, he's got to earn his Spurs, I should say. He earned his Spurs, if you like, by who he sells from our first team squad. Because we've made that mistake before. We haven't raised money, good money, when we could have done. I'm talking about Maitland-Niles, 25 million on the table. You know, we're holding. We had money on the table for him. We hold on. There's a few players like that we could have actually realised some money, and we've gone, you know what, we keep him. They're not antiques, some of these footballers. They're never going. Some of them are not going to get any better. You've got to take it while it's there. And with Balogun, we don't know what he's like. He might be great. Some team might have given 35. In this market, who knows what they give? I would definitely take the money. I would actually take the money for Eddie. I'll take 25 for him and look to buy a top striker in his place that's going to fight Jesus for that centre forward position. And Jesus doesn't have to play centre forward. He can play out wide anyway, so we can move it around. That's what I would do. Because Eddie being number 2, having Jesus and number 9 every week, and Eddie behind him is a waste of a position, and it's a waste of money.
Okay, we'll have that discussion next week.
I think he'd be sorry. Because I just say I think he'd be very silly to leave if that's in his mind.
Balogun.
Yeah, I think he'd be a very silly boy.
Yeah.
If Arteta wants him to stay, and he wants to see him in pre-season, and he wants to see what he can do, right. And Balogun comes in and he turns around and says, I want to go, I want to stop. Don't forget he's still on a 2-year contract, so he ain't got no say in doing anything at the moment. So it ain't up to him. It's up to Arteta whether he wants to sell him on or not. But yes, he's done it in France. He's scored a few goals. From what I'm seeing in him with his youth level, from what I've seen of him in France, yes, it's the French league, fair enough. But of his age, I still want to see what he can do at Arsenal. I want to see what he's about. I want us to see, because if we sell him for 20, 25 million out and he comes back to haunt us, when you think of the way Arteta has brought in young players since he came to the club, how Martinelli's improved, how Saka's improved, we can just really, Saliba, Martinelli, we can go on the players that he's improved at Arsenal. Surely Balogun's got to look at that and think, Arsenal in the Champions League this year, I can have some of that. He might go somewhere. He might go to an Aston Villa. He might go for 25 million. Might be making the biggest mistake of his life. So,
Steve, sorry, Steve. Those players you've all mentioned, the Salibas, the Sakas, the Martinellis, the minute they hit the ground, you could tell they were different class. You knew there was a footballer there, and he did it. Arteta's improved them to an extent, but they had the ability. They had everything about them.
You don't think he's got the ability, Balogun? You don't think he's got the ability?
I don't know. What I saw
exactly.
of him,
that's what I'm saying. We don't know.
What I saw of him, I thought his first touch was poor. For centre forward, you can't know any position. But I thought his first touch was poor when he played. And it doesn't matter who you're playing against. If your first touch is poor, it's poor. So I wanted him to do well. I'm hearing about him scoring all these goals in the reserves. I thought, give him a chance. Why aren't you playing him? When I saw him play, Steve, it was lacking. For me, he didn't hit the ground running, which you've got to do. You've got to take the chance when it's in. He hasn't taken it.
What could he do?
If he goes away, Steve.
What could he do with these players, though? This is a different type of player that he's playing with now. He's playing with some of the best players in world football. So I don't know. I just feel
no one knows. I can't see.
I've only seen him at youth level. I thought he was unbelievable at youth level. So that's where I'm
at youth level. At youth level, your first touch. At the youth level, your first touch isn't that important. It's important, but not as important as the top division.
He scored a few goals though, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored goals at that level. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. I think I'm worried. I'd be nervous if we got rid of him for 25 and he went somewhere else and all of a sudden came into a star without watching him play with the players that we've got, just to see what he's like around him. If he's not, if he don't look all that, then we can sell him in January. Let's see what he's about.
Yeah, true. Let's have the confidence that Arteta will do the right thing. Let's have the confidence.
Yeah, this is definitely a conversation that we can definitely have next week as well, because I think the striker position on its own is a conversation. Do you bring in a striker? Do you stick with Jesus? How does it work? Is it? Are you looking for the 20-goal a season man, or are we forgetting that Jesus was out for 4 months as well? Like, there's a big conversation to have about what Arsenal do with that forward position. Quickly, just go through some of the comments. Surely it comes down to who has more potential. What are you saying? Eddie or Balogun? For me, it's Balogun. And Johnny says he's had his chances. He had a prime opportunity with Jesus out. He did okay, but didn't grab it. I think that's well harsh, Johnny.
Oh.
Like, that's well harsh. Are you talking about Eddie? You're talking about Eddie. Bro, Eddie's like our 4th top goal scorer and played like 10 games. I think that's well harsh. I think Eddie did grab his opportunity. I think Eddie being here now is off the back of that, what he's done this season, because he came in and he scored goals. Yes, towards the end, he drifted out towards like the last 3 games. But before that, he's excellent. Like, not just scoring goals, his work rate. I think that's well harsh. She say, hey, how you doing? How are you? You can't say how. You've got to ask the questions. I'm actually going to start going through them. It's like auto cue. I know Ronak said so. He said, unpopular opinion, because Casado is ahead of Rice in a lot of aspects. He fits the style a lot more. Brighton play closer to the style to us than West Ham. Much less of a gamble. So you'd go for Casado first, Ronak. That isn't for me. That's an unpopular opinion. For me, I think that Rice is the player that is a harder player to find out there in the market than a Casado. I think Casado's excellent, but I don't think there's too many Rices out there. I think you can get a player who's maybe not Casado, but you can get a player who can play in Casado's position. Not harsh at all. Not good enough for Arsenal. No, I'm not saying. Look, that's your opinion with regards to not good enough for Arsenal. But to say he didn't grab it, the guy had. Look, in the time that Jesus was out, he had like 11 games and scored like 7 goals. So I don't know what you was looking for in a second striker. That's my opinion.
Would you have ever, Kieran? Would you have when Jesus came back? Would you ever have thought to start Eddie instead of Jesus?
By the time Eddie's
Eddie done what he did. He did that well. Jesus got in the team. He'd come back from injury, played a few games. Did you ever, till the end of the season, you think, you know what, we need to upgrade. Let's put Eddie in instead of Jesus.
No, because Eddie's not an upgrade on Jesus.
Exactly. He's not even up to his level, in my opinion. We need someone as good as Jesus, if not better.
Yeah,
that's hard to get, though, isn't it? That's hard to get.
But bringing in another striker doesn't mean Eddie has to go. How many strikers do you need? Like centre forwards, I'd say you'd need 3, and one of them has to be a squad player. Because if we're going to try and compete on 4 fronts, you've got the Champions League, the Premier League. Then you've got 2 cups, which one of them you don't even want your first team in there. You still want to do well in it, but you want to do what we did before. Bred some of the youngsters, play some of the people on the cusps. I think you need players in the squad that can do a job. You can bring in and you can still say, okay, in this game you can do a job. And there is going to be a level that drops down, especially when you get to your first striker. Your second or your competition, okay. But I think you've got to have someone in and around that. It's usually a youngster. Eddie was that youngster. He's just happened to sign a longer term contract. We kept him from the youth team. I don't think there's anyone in the youth that is stepping in those shoes right now in that 3rd spot. Balogun would have been that guy. He don't want to be that 3rd spot.
Do you have anyone in mind, Milv?
No, he's gone.
Yeah. On that note,
no, honestly, I haven't got anyone in mind. But I'm sure there are people out there. You know, I don't go around the world looking at footballers like the Arsenal guys do. But there must be an upgrade on Eddie, and he's did well for us. But there must be an upgrade.
Yeah, I think there's an upgrade in Eddie, but we were just not long ago talking about Balogun staying as well. So it's I still think we need the three. So, like, you can get rid of Balogun, or you can get rid of Eddie, you keep Balogun. I don't see the point in bringing in that other striker and then not having an option for another centre forward. Remember, we've got Jesus who can play out on the wings. I see a need for a third centre forward, in my opinion.
There wasn't a great drop off though, was there? When Jesus was out, we still carried on.
It's a different style. It's a completely different style.
But we carried on winning
Eddie
football matches.
goals. Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
So are we? It's not like we're going to go and buy like a 50, 60 million pound striker to come in, to be Jesus' understudy. We're not going to get there, are we?
Yeah, and I also don't think we need to go out and buy a 15 million pound striker that would be a third choice, because we've got that. That's my point. We've got an Eddie. We've got a Balogun. Who's the person to challenge Jesus? Might not be Eddie or Balogun, but I still think there's definitely room in this squad for a player like Eddie or Balogun, because there's no one that's coming through the ranks right now that's a decent enough centre forward. Like, we've got who's the winger? I can't remember his name. We've got Koza Dubry, not there yet. The other winger, he's not there yet. Pacey, but very, very raw. And they're kids. They're like 16, 17. Like, they're not even close to it. Eddie was that guy. Balogun was that guy. He went on loan, had a great season. He now wants to leave. And that's the problem we had. Our third choice, who was potentially going to come third choice, wants to go and play first team football. So, yeah. All right. We definitely need to be talking about a striker next week. There's a lot we can talk about. Carried on an extra 6 minutes after I said we were going to finish. Finish off on Johnny's comment. He says, nah, Eddie never took the chance he had, in my opinion. All right. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Jerome, and thank you very much for joining us, Melvin.
Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. Be like the old days.
Good.
It's good.
And thank you very much for joining us, Steve. Make sure you got plenty of transfer gossip for us next week as we talk about who could potentially come in and be that option of a striker for Arsenal. For everyone who's joined us tonight, make sure you press that like and subscribe. Thank you for joining us tonight, Ollie. Thank you for joining us tonight, Johnny, MCM Creations, Ronok. Please just help me out with some of these nicknames. Killing me. Who else was in there? Craig was in there with the poetry, the poet. We're going to call it Craig, aka the poet.
Ready all tonight.
On the mark tonight. Hey, very, very good. Very good. On that note, peace out, stay safe, and wash your hands.